Hey, welcome back. So we're almost done all of our environmental forces that we've been looking at. The last one we're going to look at today is regulatory forces, and we're going to discuss those. And there's going to be a video that we're going to go through together. And I thought as well, for those that would like and they're wanting something else to do and maybe want some more marks, I'm going to throw a bonus assignment on top of at the end of this video that you guys can go in and submit a quick little blurb and get some bonus marks. Why not, right? Okay. Also, don't forget, if you want still, is to click and subscribe in the video. Make sure you hit the little notification bell, and we'll get going. All right. So the last one, regulatory forces. What is that? Well, when we're compared to marketing, it's the rules, the laws, all the regulations that are out there so that everyone plays fair, right? It's this big, massive competitive sandbox. As we did in the last video, we talked about all the competitive forces that are out there. These are just kind of some regulations out there to kind of make sure that everyone's playing fairly because it is so competitive and there's lots of money that can be traded hands in this scenario. So let's start looking at some of these regulatory forces and companies that are out there now. Okay? So these are only a few of the companies listed. There are many others, but here's are just a few that kind of probably affect you directly. So let's look at the first one. So the Competition Bureau. The Competition Bureau, remember we talked about it when we talked about the competition forces, talk about and regulate to make sure everyone's playing fairly. There's some rules as far as prices, merchandising standards, some perfect examples that might happen if you walk into a store, if you were to go into, say, Sport Check or Winners and some other big retailers like that, you would notice when something is on sale, they use certain words like was and now. So it was $99.99, but it's now $49.99. So there are some rules saying that, and some companies got dinged in the past saying that when you type in the was, it actually has to be sold at that price for a certain period of time. And some companies can get fined dramatic amounts of money if they don't follow these rules. So some companies have actually gotten around that. And Winners is a perfect example of that, where they use the wording. They don't say was. If anyone know what they say on the tag, it doesn't say was or regular price. It's right. It says compare at, right? And they get around that so they can compare. So when you read the sales tag on the sticker, it says compare at $99.99, our price $49.99. So it's kind of, yeah, technically it's not saying the was and now, but it kind of gives you a value. The tricky part sometimes though is good luck trying to find it ever at that compare at price, right? The compare at price that they're always referring to is a manufacturer's suggested list price that manufacturers will send to the retailer saying, here, this is what we recommend that you sell it at. So it gives you a sense of value, right? And remember, you think when you're buying something that's on sale, you're buying it because you think there's a good value to it, right? So that's some of the things they regulate. Lots of other issues with regards to tags on the products. And so forth. So there's a whole website dedication to the Competition Bureau, but the price tag is one that's quite common. Another one is again with pricing is the clearance tags. You can't. It's called double ticketing standard. You can't just keep putting prices up and down over top of each other. You have to remove that. If not, they have to give it to for that price, or they can be fined, etc., etc. Now, that being said, retailers are allowed to make mistakes. So if you do see something, you walk into a store, they can actually make that change and correct it. They don't have to sell to you for at that price. So these are just a few of the things the Competition Bureau looks at in certain retailers. So let's talk about Next one, you guys might hear this one all the time, the Better Business Bureau. This company works on the ethics, make sure it's following, legal within the realms of legally what makes sense and what's fair for everybody. They just kind of work more on the ethics versus competition, where it works more on the rules. But the Better Business Bureau is another one that's out there. The Do Not Call list. This is something that has kind of fallen off the radar. It's still out there. You guys may still get them. They're actually, we're just ramping up. I noticed it the other day that I started getting some phone calls, and the biggest one was air duct cleaning. Was back a few years ago, where you'd get these random phone calls saying, "Hey, we can clean your air ducts." And if you trace the number, it's some number in California, etc., etc., etc. So what is the Do Not Call list? The Do Not Call list, apparently, well, it is, it's not apparently, but apparently when you put your name on it, you say, someone calls you up, say, "Hey, we do say thanks, but no thanks. Can you put me on the Do Not Call list?" And then they're supposed to put you on the list, and you're not supposed to receive any calls. The problem and the challenges that they face is how to regulate that. And actually, Bell Canada got dinged quite a few years ago for multi-millions of dollars for that. If you look up and Google it, Bell Do Not Call list, fine. You can read all about that. But it's basically just, again, to keep it fair, right? So that you're not, telemarketers aren't pounding the consumer over and over and over with these, false and fraud claims out there. So the Do Not Call list is out there, but the challenge with all of these actually is regulating them. And there is a ton of companies out there that break these on a daily basis for mostly, honestly, is more for ignorance. They're just not familiar with all the rules that are out there. And the only way they would get caught is if someone or another company would call them out on it. Okay. And the last one I want to talk about, and this is one down here, is quite common right now. It's called the CRTC, or the Canadian Radio and Television Commission. This company basically regulates what's on television and what you hear on the radio, right? If you guys can remember when you're younger, certain shows were on at certain times and certain shows were not on at certain times, right? Simpsons is one that comes to mind. When it first came out, I believe it had to be on after 8, and then it became 7 and it became 6, and so forth and so forth and so forth, because it was very controversial, the content that was on The Simpsons. The CRTC is that company that regulates that, what you see and what you hear at certain times, and what can be said, as far as nudity, language, etc., etc., etc. And it's changed. I mean, if you go back 20 years and you look at what TV shows were then versus content versus what TV shows now, there's a huge difference. So the CRTC basically does that. But the next thing I want to talk about is when you think about what how we watch movies nowadays. We don't watch them on television. Yes, some of us still have our Rogers boxes and our Bell boxes, and we still have cable, but we're getting away from that. And if you think about, and we talked about this in technological forces, how we watch movies and everything now is we stream, right? Which uses what avenue to communicate to us, right? They use the internet. And here's the challenge. Who controls the internet? Right? Nobody. This gets the CRTC kind of upset a little bit, saying, well, how can we regulate that, right? They're trying to do their job, and now everyone's over here watching movies and uploading and downloading, and they have no control over it. And this is getting really kind of dicey now, and there's a whole controversy that's been stirring and stewing in the past 7 years, and it's kind of ramping up more and more now that more and more of us are streaming. So that's what the CRTC does, and we're going to watch a quick video. It's about an 8-minute video, and it's a good one. It's a couple years old, but it really shows the frustration that the CRTC is having. You'll see the video. It's quite humorous. It's one of my favorite videos that they're struggling with in trying to control the internet. And it brings up a lot of interesting discussions about our economy, what we should do, what's right versus wrong. Do you feel violated? Do you feel comfortable being told what you can and cannot watch on YouTube? Do you feel you should watch whatever you want? Where are we? It's a real ethical question right now, and it's a very delicate topic because there's always money underlying issues with it. So, anyways. Let's watch this quick video. Keep a reminder, there is a bonus assignment that I've left for those that want to do. It's at the end of the video, and I also post it under the Dropbox under assignments, and we'll go that route. All right. Okay, here's the Netflix video. We're gonna play it in full screen. Thought it'd be a little bit easier. It was just me voiceover. So if you have headphones and that, plug them in. It's only about 8 minutes long, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, so here's a quick little video. We're going to go through this together. I'm going to pause it and start as we go. It's from a few years ago, but it's something that was interesting when everyone was upset about Netflix Canada versus Netflix US, and then some of the shows you're watching. So this will help maybe shed some light on it, but it also addresses a very interesting topic as far as internet and streaming challenges now and the rules that kind of fall around it, and understanding why certain things are the way they are and what's happening out there in the world of streaming services, Netflix, Disney, Amazon, and YouTube actually, and they all kind of play a role. So we're going to go through this video, and at the end of the video I will give you a bonus assignment. If those that want to do a few extra marks, I will make this a bonus assignment at the end of the video. Okay, so here we go.
15 years here in Canada for just 4 years, and it dominates internet data usage. About 40% of primetime streaming in Canada is Netflix, yet it is unregulated and pays no Canadian tax. And that, as Jacques Bourbeau reports, led to some tense moments today at a CRTC hearing.
It's a hit with Canadian viewers, not so much with some Canadian broadcasters. They complain Netflix is not regulated, files no taxes, and doesn't pay into funds to produce Canadian programs. But Netflix says it does do its part.
Okay, so let's understand now. So they're paying no tax. Why is that? Because their office is in the States. So for those at home that pay the monthly fee for Netflix, you're paying that fee. It's to a company in the States. So what, from economists, is why they get upset is that here in Canada, you have your money and you're spending it elsewhere. And Netflix is able to access that market free of charge. And the CRTC is saying, whoa, you should be keeping money in Canada so that it's better for our economy. And that's kind of what they're looking at here now. And I'll discuss some other things that Netflix, since this video, has changed a few things. Okay.
Actively license Canadian content, not because anybody told us to, but because we thought our members would enjoy it.
The CRTC wants numbers to back up that claim, so it asked Netflix about subscriber numbers, revenue, how much it spends on Canadian programs. Information Netflix is reluctant to give up.
We are just ensuring, because of the sensitivity of the information, that confidentiality can be guaranteed.
This infuriated the chair of the CRTC.
You coming here and suggesting that we don't treat information confidentially is actually a bit offensive.
The CRTC chair got so fed up he called for a break and stormed out of the hearing room.
Okay, so what just happened? So CRTC is asking for Netflix to share all their information. Netflix is, are you kidding me? Why would we do that? Just because you have no power over us, and why would we do that? So that just infuriated the CRTC, and hence him walking out, which is really kind of ironic because, you know, there's kind of like the young child stamping his feet because they're not getting their way, and Netflix is like, we don't abide by your laws and rules. So it's really kind of interesting if you look at going forward down the road, is the rule of the CRTC? And I think that's kind of where it's coming from, where, you know, and you also think about, how does Netflix come to Canada? Well, it's through the internet. Well, then that gets up a whole open discussion as to, well, who regulates the internet? And right now, nobody. Not rightfully so. Should they? It opens up a whole realm of questions. So anyways, let's continue to watch the video.
When he got back, Blais laid down the law.
You operate under an exemption order that requires you to provide information. You are not entitled to a special treatment. We are treating you like every other applicant.
At these hearings, numerous voices have demanded that if Netflix wants access to the Canadian market, it should give something back.
It's clear that Netflix is a player in the Canadian system, and Canadians want Netflix to make a contribution back to Canada.
But the Conservative government says that's not going to happen, saying it will not tax the internet.
We have no intention of raising costs on consumers and putting any kind of a video or YouTube or Netflix tax in place.
Critics say the government should not be telling the CRTC what to do.
The CRTC is a quasi-independent regulator. It is supposed to exist at arm's length, and the government is not supposed to operate in its or intervene in its day-to-day affairs.
It may have endured a rough ride at today's hearing, but Netflix executives walked away knowing they've won the more important battle, avoiding any kind of internet tax in Canada.
So that's exactly what was discussed, is in how to generate income back and keep it into Canada. And now, since this video, Netflix has actually opened up offices across Canada. So they actually employ, so there actually is a Netflix Canada office. Last time I checked, there was one in Montreal. I think there was one in Winnipeg, and I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they were either opening one in Toronto, so they can actually produce their Netflix originals to, generate income and help the economics and the economy within Canada and Ontario and all the provinces. Therefore, it's kind of taking the heat off. And keep in mind, they don't have to do that. They can do whatever they like. They could pull out. They originally, remember when you guys were all upset about how Netflix Canada and Netflix US, that the shows were different. That was solely based on Netflix doing what they thought our Canadian viewers would want. They didn't have to do that. They did it solely just out of the quote unquote, the kindness of their heart. So anyways, that's an interesting story, and it's changed a lot since this video. This video is a few years old. Now that you have Disney and Amazon and YouTube and all the other streaming services, big players coming out, it's interesting to see what happens to Netflix in the next few years. So here's the bonus assignment. I want you guys to just quickly tell me what you think Netflix should do. Should they continue? Should there be an internet tax? Or should they just continue on as they're going? What are your thoughts on this video? All right, that's it for now, guys. I will post the marks out shortly once everything comes down. Reminder, tests will be coming out. Your term projects are due. If you have any questions, by all means, shoot me an email or comment in the YouTube channels. Or any way you need to get hold of me, feel free to contact me. If not, good luck, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.